It's finally time to send and receive data over the internet. But before we can do that, we need to understand the following concepts. Network requests, what they are. Here we will look at HTTP and GET and POST requests. We will also look at the different libraries we need to make a network request. JSON, API, and then finally about the concept of threads. Once we understand all these concepts, we can learn how to transfer data over the internet. So let's begin. Let's first understand what we mean by network requests. What do you understand by the word request? It means to ask for something, right? We request the shopkeeper to give us a bottle of shampoo, or our mom for that yummy cake that she makes. Similarly, when we want data for our app from the internet, or we want to store the data on the internet, we need to request the internet to do this for us. Next, what do we mean by network? Network is simply a network of devices. Internet is a network. Another network can be a local network. For example, all the devices in an office are connected to each other via a Wi-Fi. But let's say there is no internet connection. The devices can still share data with each other because they are part of a local network. We don't need to get into much detail here. So, a network request is a request made by our device to the server. These two are connected in a network. Now, there are various types of requests that can be made. But we will be looking at only two requests in this training. One is the GET request and the other is the POST request. These requests are also known as HTTP methods. So let's understand what HTTP is and then we will move to GET and POST requests. Here are a few points about the HTTP. HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. It is designed to enable communication between clients and servers. In our case, our app will be the client. HTTP works on a request-response protocol between a client and a server. So, a client requests for something and the server responds to it. The HTTP helps make all this possible. So let's say Google Chrome submits a request to the Internshala website for some content that it wants to display. The server that hosts the Internshala website will send a response to it. This response will contain the status information about the request, that is, whether the response can be completed or not or is being processed, etc. And accordingly, it will contain the requested data. All requests and responses will follow the HTTP method or protocol. So that was about HTTP. Now, let's look at two HTTP methods, GET and POST. GET request. When we say we want to get this, it means that we want something and we want to get it, right? Similarly, when the client wants to request for some data from the server, it makes a GET request to the server. Requests using the GET method are used when we want to retrieve data and not make any changes to any other data on the server. Next, we have the POST request. When we hit post on any post that we write on our Facebook statuses, what happens? This status gets posted, right? Similarly, when we want to post some data on a server, that is, the client wants to send some data to the server, it makes a POST request. But there is a slight difference here. While talking of POST requests, we are not necessarily saving the data that we are sending, while in our Facebook posts, the data gets saved on the wall. So, for example, when we use any app or website and fill in a login form, etc., and hit that send or login button, the app actually makes a POST request to the server and sends this data to the server. The server then verifies the credentials for us. The major difference between GET and POST is that we use a GET request when we want to retrieve data, while we use a POST request when we want to send some data to the server. We can also use a GET request to send data, but it is not a preferred method due to security reasons. We won't be going into these details here. So, that's all we need to understand about GET and POST requests. All you need to remember is when to send which request. In the next video, we will look at some other concepts.